We're going to go right into our first round. So, Mr. Vierson, I have you first. You'll have 6 minutes.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think I'd just like to move the motion that I put on notice a while back around the losses of churches in the communities in my riding and around the country. I've read that motion into the record a few days or a few meetings back, and I just would like to get that motion to come to a vote yet today. It doesn't ask for a study or anything like that. It just asks for a report to the House, and I think we can get that done here today. We've seen over 80 church buildings have been reported burnt in this country. Most of these have been on First Nation reserves, were used by local Indigenous people. And these losses of church buildings have been devastating to these communities, which these churches are places of life milestones, weddings, funerals, baptisms, that sort of thing. Community members have come to me and said, showed their displeasure for this.
Point of order.
Alan Adam of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation.
Okay, just a second, Mr. Vierson. Ms. Edloot, your point of order, please.
I remember that we had agreed that we wouldn't discuss that motion until after the study. Okay,
it is a motion that's in order, and Mr. Vierson has the floor. The clock is running, and just I'm going to stop the clock for a second. We had this discussion last time about moving motion, and I'm going to just give everybody. Bosch and Gagnon actually addressed the issue, and for reference sake, it is Chapter 12, page 565, first sentence of the second paragraph indicates the moving of a motion which does not require notice typically ends the speech in which it is included, and that principle tends to carry through in other committees I've been at, where if a motion is raised during the slide time, we'll go until the motion is debated and dispensed with. But if we run out of time, then the next speaking slot goes to the next party.
Okay.
So that's how we're going to proceed for this. But you do have still 4.5 minutes, okay. And so the floor remains yours until we dispense with this.
Super. I just wanted to get Chief Alan Adam of the Athabasca Chippewa First Nation on the record here when he said that he was devastated to watch their church burn in his community. Where are we going to go now for funerals, ask for prayers? This should have never happened. It was uncalled for. Over the summer, one of the oldest churches in Alberta was burnt down at Greward, St. Bernard's Church, and I would really like to just recognize that, give our condolences as a committee to that community, and make sure that this doesn't happen any longer in Canada. It's outrageous that churches are being burnt down across the country. So if I can read my motion once again, that it be reported to the House that the committee condemn the arson and attacks of over 80 churches across Canada, and in particular extend their condolences to the community of Greward and Capuino First Nation with the loss of St. Bernard's Church, one of the oldest churches in Alberta, a piece of history, the building that holds memories for generations of community members, and that the committee reaffirm freedom of religion and assembly and call on those responsible for these attacks to be brought to justice. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vierson. So we'll go through the speaking list that I have. First up, I have Mr. Batiste, and then I have Mr. Batiste, Mr. Carr, Mr. Keurig, Mr. Pawlowski, and Madame Gill. So that's the speaking order we have.
You know, I think that what has happened over the past few years with reconciliation and with churches and with the Pope coming to apologize, there's a deep need for reflection and reconciliation. But I really want to get to the end of this study, and I would have, I know that we've called adjourn to debate on this. I would like to call it adjourn to debate on this if that's what we can do so we can hear the rest of the study. But if we have to, then I would have rather discussed this in camera, because it does have a way of triggering a lot of people who went through Indian residential schools and the things that they're going through. I wouldn't want to have this in camera, but if you're going to force a vote on this right now, then I'd like to call it to a vote with us voting against.
Okay, I just need to clarify because I've heard two things. One of them is to adjourn debate, and one is to call the vote. It's two very different. Yeah, two very different. So the adjourn debate is a motion that is required to be acted on without hearing any further speakers. And if we do the vote, then I have my speakers list I do need to get through.
Okay, well, then I vote to adjourn the debate.
Okay, so then we'll call the question on that. So do we want it recorded, or can we just do a show of hands? Okay.
Mr. Batiste?
I'm voting to adjourn debate.
Mr. Carr?
In favor of adjournment.
Ms. Gainey? Mr. Hanley?
In favor.
Mr. Pulowski?
In favor.
Mr. Schmale?
Against.
Mr. Keurig?
Against.
Mr. Viersen? Mr. Zimmer?
Against.
Madame Gill?
In favor.
Ms. Idlout?
Anyok po nga in favor.
Encore une fois, super.
I'm going to
Sorry,
give.
I didn't hear Ms. Idlout's vote. If I could hear Ms. Idlout's vote?
Anyok po nga.
In favor.
In favor? Okay.
And Madame Gill, would you like to recast your vote en français? Okay. Okay.
7 yeas, 4 nays.
So debate is adjourned, and we will then continue on with our questions. So there's still 21 seconds on the clock.